Welcome, everyone. It is such an honor to have you part of today's session. And really, what we're going to be talking about today is something that is so simple, yet most of us actually overlook it. As an entrepreneur, we go out into this world and we try and make ourselves stand out above everybody else. But the truth of it is, most of the time, we're looking at everybody else. We're comparing ourselves to everybody else. We're seeing what they are doing, and then we try to replicate it, thinking that that will actually make us stand out. And the truth of it is, all it does is it just makes us all look pretty much exactly the same. So what does it take to actually build your brand so that you can stand out? That when people get to see you, they can relate to you. They can connect with you. And that's really what I want to go through, because so too often as an entrepreneur, we think we're doing things that elevate us. But the easiest way to see if you have elevated yourself is to test it. Walk into a event, walk into an environment where there's many people, and actually wait and see, do people automatically recognize you? Do people automatically come towards you like a magnet and want to have a conversation with you and want to learn more about you? If not, then you can actually see, hey, I'm actually just like everybody else in the room. So we want to elevate that up. Now, going through this, it was a fantastic idea and a concept of elevating ourselves. But really what I needed to do is I needed to understand a little bit of the psyche behind the human. So I did a little bit of research, and this is where I actually had a lot of fun with this. Because what makes a person remember? This was one of the key questions that came through to me. What makes it when I walk into a room and I see a certain person and I go, hey, I know exactly who that particular person is? And there were some little key elements that started to come through. Now, I did a little bit of checking on actors and actresses, singers, movies, brands, just general people that are around, motor vehicles, all of these type of things. I started to do a little bit of research. What makes them stand out? And then when it actually hit me, it was like, oh my gosh, it is actually quite straightforward and simple. You see, we've got these sensors in our particular body, and these particular receptors, these sensors, is what triggers the memories inside of us. And then it actually goes, hey, I'm familiar with that. Hey, I know that. And I can actually start to relate to that. So we know those sensors. And that's exactly how I built this particular session around it. It's to look at your senses. So when you're actually looking at building your brand, what I want you to do is I want you to break it down into these different categories, and then take each one of these categories and say, right, how do I enhance this particular sense for the people around? So I hope you can actually enjoy this, because this was actually a lot of fun as I went through it. So the very first sense that I want to talk about, and you might be going, well, I know exactly what they are. Well, it's the sight. It's your eyes. You see, this is the one area that takes in so much information. You will find that it's the one sense in your body that can actually create distractions. Suddenly something moves and your head moves towards it. You recognize things much quicker. Yep, some of us do need glasses, and that helps us to identify it. But sight is that one element that we really need to make sure that we enhance, because that's the first impression. When you're walking down in a shopping center and you can actually see someone right at the end of the passage, and you can recognize them because maybe they're wearing something, or there's some unique character about them. Maybe they are 7'4", they're very tall. Maybe they've got these massive muscles, and you can kind of recognize them from them. It's the visual side of it. So when we start looking at our visual, the sight element of it, there are a couple little areas which you can automatically start to check off to try and get it all into your favor. The first one is, well, every time you meet somebody, There's always a first impression, and you can actually do this. I know it's called judging, and we don't like to judge people, but you can use this as an experiment. When you see someone for the very first time, what do you notice first? Is it that you notice their hair or lack of it? Is it that you notice their eyes? Is it that you notice a certain feature? Do you notice what they're wearing? What is it that you're noticing? The next time you're going around and you're looking around, what is it that you are noticing? And what you can also do is if you're walking with friends or family and you see somebody, try this as a little experiment and say to them, hey, that person, what did you notice first about them? And get all of their responses. Because what you're going to see is there are certain characteristics of the way we dress, our posture, the way we stand, certain colors that we use in our clothing, anything that creates our personal style is what stands out. And ultimately, when you identify that key component that stands out, well, now you can start looking at yourself and actually going, well, what is it that I do? What is it that the colors that I use, what is it that stands out? What would people be able to identify me with? And this is something that it might take a little bit of time, but once you identify it, you need to make sure that you embrace it. You actually enhance it. You actually bring it up. This is something that you enjoy. For me, I'm not wearing a waistcoat because it's a little bit warmer this morning, but generally if I'm doing anything out there, waistcoat has always been something great for me. I don't like the long sleeves. I prefer wearing a waistcoat. My baldness, the hair that lacks on the top of my head, that's something that's unique to me. Well, it's not really my choice. But the point is, what is it that you can actually do? Now, here's where you take that brand to enhance it. Once you identify it, make sure that on all your social media profiles, make sure that any kind of marketing that you use, that same image, that same identifying that people can visually see is portrayed through everything. If there's a certain color that you're using, make sure that that color goes all the way through. And then when you're in person, well, enhance it. If you're a person that wears a certain clothing or has a certain color, carry on with it. You see, you can go into any franchise, and I'm talking fast food franchises, and you'll actually see that the waitrons, especially if it's the food, they wear the same outfit. Doesn't matter whether it's in Cape Town, whether it's in Durban, whether it's in Joburg, Pretoria, doesn't matter where it is, the look is exactly the same. There is an identifier. So the first thing that I want you to have a look at is yourself. And have a look at that one identifier that people can almost go, hey, I know who you are. Just because you're wearing something that is unique, something that's been enhanced right through your social media profiles. So here, what you need to do as homework is actually get your friends, family, have a look at your social media profiles, have a look at everything that you market and say, hey, what makes me stand out? Not the marketing, not all the fluff around it, but if there's an image of me, what is it that stands out? And if they kind of go, well, I'm not too sure, you've got a bit of a concern because you need to uplift that. So there's the first one. It's with your eyes, it's sight. And I want you to really find what is that character that can make you stand out. The second one is sound. And it's actually, the sound is the voice of your brand. Now, you can't go around and change your voice. If you've got a very high-pitched voice or a very low voice, you don't want to go out there and try and change that. It's the uniqueness of your voice. That's how you sound. That's really how you go forward. But what you can do is make sure that you're actually controlling your tone, your pace, the way you actually speak. So it sounds constant. So for instance, if you're meeting with a particular client, you don't want to suddenly put on a strange accent for that particular client. And then on your social medias, when you're doing maybe a video or something like that, it sounds different. You want to be exactly the same. Have that authentic voice because that is your particular brand as you're going through. But here's something that I got to learn early on in my career is, yes, tone, pace, making sure that I enunciate my words so there's no lost in translation. All of that summarized to one key element. And it was a speech coach that actually shared this with me. It's the confidence in your speaking. You see, when you become nervous, you will actually find that your tone changes. Your pace may speed up. There may be a different way that you speak using different words. You might find that you might stutter. Maybe you talk so fast that nobody can understand you. It's the confidence in your speaking. When we start looking at the tone, the voice of your brand, start having confidence. When you're talking about something, you want to talk so people listen. Talk about areas that actually relates and it connects with people. So for instance, you're in real estate, but you happen to be talking about, let's say, for instance, cars. And the audience that you're speaking to is not interested in motor vehicles or cars. They're interested in real estate. They're looking to buy a property. They're looking at buying a car. So don't have a conversation about a car unless there's an interest associated to it. You see, your voice, that brand of your voice when it goes out, the confidence that you speak must come from an authentic nature that is relaxed, that's calm, that can actually get people to listen. And this is an absolute key. It's a harder one to actually perfect, but over time, the more people that you speak to, you'll actually find if I'm talking to you and suddenly you just turn away and you walk away, or you suddenly just pick up your phone and you start swiping on your phone, I think to myself, I've actually lost the conversation because they're not actually listening. They're not actively listening to me, which means I've done something wrong. That's why I look internally. My confidence wasn't there to keep them engaged. So that's a very important part. Now, it does mean that you've got to do research about whatever you're going to speak about at an extremely high level. I'm going to use this little word again. When you're talking, enhance your talking. You're not just an area expert, you are the area experts. You're enhancing it to a level that you stand out above everybody else with your particular voice. So that's the second one. And that obviously is going around with the ears. People are picking it up. You want to walk into a room when you start talking, people stop, they turn, and they listen. That's the key that actually comes through. So there's something over time, but something that you can look at your voice. The third one, and this is actually a pretty cool one. I actually like this. And this was directly from my wife that shared this with me. It's smell. This is something that actually starts to trigger emotions, by the way. You know, it definitely triggers emotions when you smell something. And here's something that if you're doing, for instance, in real estate, you'll do a show house. Having a certain smell will actually start to invoke, hey, the warmth of this house. I want to ask you something. Have you ever gone into a dealership, a motor dealership, and sat in a brand new car? It has a very, very unique smell. It has a smell that actually makes you feel, this is great. This is fantastic. I don't know why, but that new car smell just makes it great. Now, whenever I take my car to get washed and the guy comes through to me, he says, what would you like? Would you like lavender? Would you like cherry? And I always say, I would like the new car smell. And when he does that, I get into the car and I've got a sense of happiness that comes inside of me. So this becomes such an important way of actually going, hey, I can use my nose to create this level of emotions. So what I really want you to do is start looking at, and it might sound crazy, but what is the perfume that you use? What's the deodorant that you actually use? Is it overpowering, or is it something that's subtle but just identifies you? You see, smell is one of these areas that just gets people kind of turned, and it makes some kind of emotional connection and gets them more aware. Walk into a restaurant, you smell something, suddenly you feel hungry. You see, this smell becomes quite pertinent. But what you've got to be careful of is if you go to every single appointment and you overspray yourself with all this different scent and it's too overpowering, it could create a negative on your particular brand. So make sure that you have that smell that is your smell. And make sure it's a positive smell, obviously. But make sure that you've got this scent that people can relate when they see you for the first time, they see you for the second time, and they see you for the third, the fourth time. That same scent actually goes through because it's an area where if they're not listening to you and they haven't seen you, they might be able to smell you. But I'm talking in the positive light. So please remember that's in a positive light. So make sure of that smell that can actually link you in. And this was something my wife shared with me every time. And I mentioned that we get our car washed and we have the new car smell. We get into our vehicle that we've owned now for nearly 2 years. So it's not a brand new car anymore. But man, it takes us back on this journey, this memory. We remember the first day that we drove out of the dealership because it had that same scent. And when we drive out of the car wash, we actually we almost like reminisce and we go, oh, that was amazing. It's like we're driving out of the dealership again, and it gives us that happy memory. So that's the scent, the smell that actually comes through. Now, the fourth one, and this one can be a little bit more of a challenging one because it really, it's in the category of taste. All right. And we think, okay, our tongue, we taste things that are good. We taste things that are sweet, things that are bitter, things that are sour. But really what we're looking at when we talk about taste, we're not actually talking about what's going to go inside of your mouth, because that's going to be quite challenging if you're selling a property. You don't want somebody to go and lick the walls to see if it tastes the same. When we talk about taste, we're actually talking about your value proposition. All right. It's the taste of your value proposition. Does your value proposition entice somebody to want to work with you? Just like when you go into a restaurant and you look at the menu. Now, the menu has all these words and these prices, but every now and again, there's an image. There's a picture of a meal that's already been prepared. You see, when you look at that, you go, the words are great, but the pictures, that's a little value proposition. That is enticing me to say, that's what I want. There's the value. That's what I'm actually looking for. You see, your value proposition must entice people to want to carry on dealing with you. When you make that so strong and you're walking down a passageway, someone looks at you and goes, you know, that's the person that can change my life. That's the person that can find the property of my dreams. That's the person that can solve that financial problem to buy a property or get into the rental market or become an investor. It's that value proposition that must be so strong that people can taste it and they want more of it. Just like when you go to a buffet and you just say, I only want 1 spoon of dessert. And then 10, 20 minutes later, you've actually got 2 bowls in your hand and they both piled up because it was so fantastic. You want more of it. So the fourth one is taste. That's related to your value proposition, something that you need to find that value that people just want more, not just a service offering, but they want more, that they actually want to come back. They want to get more people to be a part of all of that. The fifth one, well, this is obviously the last one that we typically talk about, and that is touch. Touch is something that each and every one of us really, it's that one sense that we actually almost, I want to say, we discount. But really, touch is what we refer to as the connection factor. You see, you can see somebody. Now, that's great. You can have a conversation with them. That's great. You could even smell them and see what they smell like. That's great. But as soon as you walk up to somebody and you shake their hand, or maybe you give them the hug and welcome, suddenly everything changes. Suddenly a connection has been made. And it could be something where I've seen certain agents have that high five when they meet their particular clients. And their clients, in fact, start preparing it. You can actually see their hand is waiting. They're waiting and they're almost thinking in the back of their mind, please don't drop me because my hand. And then they give that high five and there's a smile on their face. You see, this particular factor, this part of building your brand is so unique. Now, I remember watching, it was a video of a school teacher, and you may have actually seen this. And this particular school teacher had all, and I think they were grade 1 or grade 2 children standing outside their classroom. And ultimately, they would choose a sign on the wall. And on the sign on the wall, it might be dancing, and the teacher would dance, and the actual little child would dance, and they would go with a particular smile. And there was different ones, giving high fives, giving hugs, giving all of these type of things. But what we don't see in that video, and this is something that goes a little bit further. My wife is a school teacher, and she gave me this insight, is when a child is feeling down and they choose dance, they'll smile, but they take that little step into the classroom and they go back. You see, the actions are only in the moment. But when they give a hug to that child, just a simple hug, good morning, and off they go in, that is remembered. You see, it's the touch connection factor that really starts to build it up. Now, I'm not saying that you've got to go to appropriate, inappropriate levels, but sometimes that touch factor really helps. I actually, in my youth, I was too afraid to go up and shake hands with any person. It was almost like I was crossing a certain boundary, a space, and always felt like I needed to stand in the background until I actually learned through the gestures of greeting, shaking hands. And one thing was most amazing, as soon as you shake that hand, suddenly a connection was made and people would then ignite. You see, touch is a connection factor that starts to open the doors, and all the others, the sight, the hears, everything else starts to get triggered. It's a way that you can actually take it to that next level. You will even find that when people are doing any form of conversation in a crowd and they want to speak to somebody, they'll just touch them lightly on their shoulder. And what that actually does is that individual suddenly is got a connection. And suddenly they will remember that. They'll remember that connection. They won't realize that they were touched, but what they will remember is what was said. They will remember everything that was in that particular moment. Why? Because of that connection, that touch that actually happened. I know it's a strange one, but definitely it works. It's one that will definitely help you in your brand. So there's the 5 senses that I wanted to touch on. That's why I say it was quite fun going through all of these, is actually trying to pick up each one of these little areas. But it actually goes a bit more, because now that we've got these 5 different areas, it's all great that one day we're shaking hands, the next day we've got this very expensive perfume on that we can only buy it once, and then it kind of depletes because it only comes in a 1 ml bottle that costs you 1 billion googlies. What we really need to do is, when we look at all of these senses that I've shared with you, we need to make sure that they are consistent across everything. We want to make sure that there's some form of synergy that links. If you're a person that really likes to go out and shake the hand, but unfortunately from a speaking point of view, you don't talk, well, there's something that's lost. So they can't actually hear you. You need to make sure that you start to review yourself to make sure everything is consistent in that particular brand. When you're talking in front of a person, maybe you're on the telephone with somebody, maybe you're on telephone, it's a mobile phone, maybe you're actually doing something where it's a recording that's online, maybe it's in a Zoom meeting with a live session, maybe you're up on stage, maybe it's something that you're just standing there. Make sure that it's consistent all the way through. You see, when we start looking at franchises, and I'll use the franchise that most people, when I do my sessions, can kind of relate to, and it goes like this. It was finger licking good. And I'm pretty sure you know exactly which brand that I'm actually referring to. I'm almost certain that you can actually visualize in your mind a billboard advert. You can almost visualize, maybe if you've been into one of those particular franchises, what it looks like. You can probably even visualize what they wear. You can visualize the colors of that particular brand. But I haven't shared the brand, but you know exactly what that brand would be. So you need to make sure that you have that consistency all the way through, and have a look at your brand to get all of those the balances as you're going through. Now, here's something that I've actually come to learn is throughout this entire journey of reevaluating your particular brand, there are clues to success. And there are so many clues around us that we can actually start to research them to help us. You see, when I refer to there are these clues that are all around us, you might be having this question, but Stuart, how do I elevate my brand to the next level? How do I make sure that my voice becomes the brand that people hear? How do I get my way I look, maybe the way I smell, my value proposition? How do I do all of that? Those are those big questions. Well, it's been done before. Remember, I said in the beginning, there might be another entrepreneur out there. You see what they're doing and you're doing it. You see, you're learning from them. They have the clues to their success and you're doing it, but you're doing it at the same level as them. What you need to do is enhance it. When we say success leaves clues, everybody has a level of success. How did they get to their success? Well, that is actually just through research, asking them questions. Those are the clues that will actually answer the how question. So when you're looking at building your brand, and it's you are the brand. When you're building that brand to get it out there so people start to recognize you, think of the 5 senses. Just think of how do I enhance each one of those particular senses to take it to another level? How do I make sure that when I get it to that level, it remains consistent across all my platforms, whenever I'm doing it, that it becomes authentically me? And then finally, when I get there and then everybody else is there, how do I take it up a notch? Well, I need to research. I need to look and see who is above me, who's taken their brand to the next level. It's the successes that have been left behind that we can research, that we can actually start to embrace ourselves. Hey, we can steal them if we want. It's legal. You just got to make it your own. You just got to enhance it. And you've got to make sure that everybody recognizes your brand. So today I really wanted to make sure that you start to stand out. I want you to be that 7'4" massive muscles at the end of the passage that a person can see, the person knows your value, the person can smell you in such a way that they're going, oh, it's like driving out of a car wash, but oh, it's a car wash. I thought it was a new car dealership. You want to make sure that you enhance everything to that particular level so that you become memorable. Because that's the key to a brand. It's making it memorable. When you cannot make yourself memorable, you then just filter into the actual crowd. And once you're in the crowd, well, no one's going to know who you are. So enhance it, make yourself memorable. And what you're going to find is these conversations that you start having with new clients is actually going to be exciting because you're creating more memories as you're going through your journey. So that was my discussion today. I hope you enjoyed this particular discussion. It's taking your brand to a different level, thinking of those 5 senses and really enhancing them as we're going forward. So from myself, Stuart, this was absolutely fantastic. I actually love these type of sessions, just sharing the knowledge. I cannot wait to share more of these types of tips and tricks with you in the future. And remember, if you've got any ideas, just pop them in the comments below, because that's where I get the inspiration from. I will look outside of the box and I will read the comments and we'll create a session just like this. So until the next one, I look forward to seeing you.